everyone, this is Clove and welcome to episode 2 of Warriors Warped, which is what I ended up deciding to call this series. This is a series in which I draw a little scene from one of my AUs and then I tell you about it and the events in it that have led up to this scene while you get to watch me draw it. This AU that I've got here today is one that I nicknamed as Trials AU, but it originally started off as something completely different. It originally started off as a Dark Forest Polycule AU, I guess you could call it, in which Hawkfrost, as well as a few others, a mix of canon characters and OC characters to pad it out, would by day be fighting as they would in the books, and then by night have a bit more of a soft side and actually show compassion to each other's. From the get-go, there are a few things that are different in this AU compared to canon, just to make things a bit more interesting. Most of note is that instead of having Mudclaw be in StarClan in this AU, I switched around things and put him in the Dark Forest because I thought that this would be an interesting moral dilemma, and that's kind of where this divide from the original intent of the AU and what it ended up being started. Most cats in the Dark Forest are bad and they know that they're bad, but putting Mudclaw in the Dark Forest creates a bit of a different dynamic where he sort of didn't really do anything wrong as far as he can tell. He believes that he deserved that deputy position and that it was stolen out from underneath him by the likes of One Whisker and Firestar. Now keep that in mind because I'm going to come back to that later. As for now, let's go back to Hawkfrost and his little polycule. In this group, there are Hawkfrost, Shredtail, Snowtuft, Rushtooth, and as I said, a few OCs such as one named Wildclaw. By day, they're fighting and training with each other, and by night, they're cuddling up, grooming each other, and being very uncharacteristically kind to each other. As this group started to form, they quickly realized that you can't just be attacking and ripping each other's throats out half the time and then expecting to get along the other half of the time, and so they developed a system in order to get rid of any animosity between them during these switches in times. This became known as the apology ritual. The apology ritual involves going up to another cat and you lick them on the left ear and then you lick them on the right ear and then on their forehead. As you do this, originally a saying would accompany these actions. The saying went, "I acknowledge what I've done. There is a separation between then and now. I am moving forward and I want you to follow me." This became abbreviated to just the licks. The left ear represents the past, the right ear represents the future, and the lick down the forehead means come with me as we move on from this. I thought that straight up apologizing for a lot of these Dark Forest cats is a bit too much for them. A lot of these cats, they have a hard time admitting when they were wrong, and this apology ritual, while still apologizing for what you've done, is more centered on the idea of the past is in the past and we are in the present and you can't hold the past against me forever. This apology ritual, combined with a headcanon that I have that the glowing mushrooms in the Dark Forest have healing dust on them, means that these Dark Forest cats can fight each other, practice battle skills, and then heal each other with the dust that they call Stardust, and then apologize and move on. Now, back to Mudclaw being in the Dark Forest. As I said before, I thought that this would create an interesting dynamic and an interesting moral question for Hawkfrost in the Dark Forest. Hawkfrost is here and he is secretly leading this group of cats. Hawkfrost and Mudclaw have a silent agreement between each other just to leave each other alone because Mudclaw's downfall was ultimately Hawkfrost's fault and he really just does not want to have anything to do with him. The Dark Forest is kind of separated up into factions. You have Tigerclaw's gang, you have Mapleshade's gang, you have Hawkfrost's little group, and then you have a few lurkers that just wander around on their own. Mudclaw is one of these lurkers. The Dark Forest cats like to call Mudclaw No Star because he lost one star, so he has no star. So everything is in this kind of status equilibrium up until the point that Mudclaw wanders a bit out of his territory and into Mapleshade's territory. Mapleshade, in an attempt to drive him out, attacks him and injures his leg. So when Mudclaw gets attacked by Mapleshade, he wanders over to the outskirts of Hawkfrost's little group and lingers there because he knows that none of the other cats are going to come up and attack him while he's so close to their group, and so it's kind of giving him a bit of protective field if he doesn't go directly into Hawkfrost territory but is close enough for other groups to back off from him. It's not long before Hawkfrost group start to notice that there is a lurker on the outside outside and get Hawkfrost to go investigate. Hawkfrost offers some help to him because of the excuse of, I don't want you lingering around here, so what can I do to get you to leave? This is the first point that they have interacted again since Hawkfrost has started his group and has started practicing stuff like apology and compassion, and this raises some questions in him and some doubts. Hawkfrost up until this point is fine and confident in being the cat that he is. He generally doesn't care about who he's wronged and what he's done wrong. But now he starts feeling a sense of regret of, if it weren't for me, Mudclaw would not be in this dark forest. Mudclaw would be with his family in StarClan. And he sees how miserable Mudclaw is and how lonely he is, and starts feeling this first seed of regret of, if things had been different for Mudclaw, he wouldn't be here. This is what ultimately sets the idea in his mind of, maybe our actions aren't always indicative of our morals, because some cats are given unfair circumstances in life. Hawkfrost delegates the duty of convincing Mudclaw to get off of the territory to someone else, namely Shredtail, but that just ends up with Mudclaw being brought into their camp itself, because it's better than him lurking about on the outside and getting both no actual protection and no actual help. Most cats are instructed to stay away from Mudclaw, and Mudclaw doesn't really like it because they're all calling him No Star, and he wants to get out of here as soon as possible because he hates everyone there. As of current, the activities of this camp are kept secret for the reasons of softness and compassion being seen as a sign of weakness by the more vicious cats in the dark forest. However, Tigerstar has started to pick up on the fact that there is something being hidden from him, something being kept from him, so he enlists in the help of Thistleclaw to go and spy on the camp. However, Thistleclaw isn't really having any of it, and so he goes and he just sits near the camp. Ultimately, Thistleclaw ends up not reporting anything back to Tigerclaw and going, I don't know what you're talking about, there's nothing weird or suspicious being hidden from you, you must be paranoid. Hawkfrost looks at the cats around him and he sees how they've changed and how far they've come from when they first met to what they are now, and says, hold on, it's not only that our circumstances could have been different, but that we're capable of change as well. He starts to reflect on the fact that he doesn't know if he would have done any of the actions that he did in life if it wasn't for Tigerstar's influence. Timeline-wise, this is occurring in Arc 4, just before the big battle is meant to be taking place. So Hawkfrost gets the idea of, let's take this big battle and turn it to our advantage. Instead of fighting alongside the rest of the Dark Forest, let's turn on them and fight against them, and then beg StarClan for a second chance at redemption and show that we are capable of change because we have changed. The next cat to notice that something up is actually Darkstripe, and he notices that it seems like these cats aren't really all there for the idea of taking down StarClan, and that they are probably looking at a second chance at redemption in StarClan. Darkstripe in the books itself never seemed to truly understand why he was here in the Dark Forest and why he wasn't with his friends and family in StarClan. So when he notices that they seem to be wanting a second chance, he approaches them and requests to join them. Now the thing is that he only worked out the fact that they're looking for redemption and did not work out the background as to how they got to this position. So he goes up to Hawkfrost and he says, I know what your group is doing and I know what they're about and I want in. And Hawkfrost kind of goes, no, because he kind of thinks that Darkstripe is asking him out at this moment and he is not interested at all, and he's just like, no. It takes a bit of awkward communication and confusion between them for them to realize what the other is saying. For Hawkfrost, it takes him a few minutes to go, oh, okay, you mean you have caught on to the fact that I want to rebel and that I want a second chance and you want in on this too. And Darkstripe's like, yes, literally, what else would I be talking about? Hawkfrost ends up confiding in his apprentice Leafpool that this is their plan and this is going to be the case. Here's a little thing about me. I'm a bit of a Hawkfrost Leafpool shipper, mostly one-sided, Hawkfrost crushing on Leafpool, and what would be a better excuse to go talk to Leafpool again. So he decides to go and walk in her dreams, and Leafpool as the medicine cat on their side is a bit more preferable to him than the idea of going to RiverClan and getting their medicine cat, because the RiverClan medicine cat, as you may know, is Mothwing, and he's not really ready for that yet. So he goes into Leafpool's dreams and he starts talking to her, and at first Leafpool's a bit wary because why wouldn't she be? But he comes to her so openly and so genuinely and says, I need your help. And this is one of the first instances of him showing this vulnerability to another cat, especially a cat that wouldn't necessarily like him, and that is a big deal. It's a big change for him, and so Leafpool is very willing to take him up on this because she's seeing how he's acting and going, okay, this seems genuine, this doesn't seem like a lie, and this seems like maybe it could work if you are actually being this nice. So she's like, alright, I will take you up on this, and Hawkfrost gets the chance to explain that StarClan never forgave them for what they did, and so forgiveness to the Dark Forest cats isn't something that you just are given by somebody because they were never given it. They have to choose themselves whether or not they're forgiven, and so this is them advocating for themselves. The Dark Forest cats who are rebelling start forming a bit of a more solid plan. Mudclaw, for as long as he could, has tried to stay out of this and just let his leg heal so he can leave again, but he couldn't help hearing about the talk of redemption, and he thinks, yeah, this applies to me, I'm not meant to be here, guys. So at this point we have Hawkfrost, who has kind of pioneered this whole thing. We have Thistleclaw, who was meant to be spying but is kind of like, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. We have Darkstripe, who's overheard this plan and wants in, and we have Mudclaw, who was never meant to be here in the first place, so he claims. The four of them are like, okay, we're going to do the next step. We're going to try and do some recon inside StarClan and see who in there will be on our side. I have this little bit of a headcanon that I put in different AUs here and there when I need it, that Dark Forest cats can go into StarClan in a rather convoluted way, which is the same way that living cats can go into StarClan. First, the Dark Forest cats have to walk amongst the living cats, which is a thing that Dark Forest cats can slightly do already. They go to the Moonstone or the Moonpool and, just like a living cat, go to sleep there, wake up in StarClan as a bit of a shortcut. And so the cats work this out and they break into StarClan. The four cats that I mentioned, Hawkfrost, Darkstripe, Thistleclaw, and Mudclaw, are the ones who end up going on this mission. It started off just being Hawkfrost and Darkstripe, since they're the two who kind of started this, but Thistleclaw said that he wanted in, otherwise he'd tell what was going on, and Mudclaw also said, dude, you need to let me in on this, also you owe me one, Hawkfrost, let me not bring up again the entire fact that I'm here is because of you, blah blah blah. And so they have this plan. They're going to go split up and get some of the medicine cats involved because they're the most influential, and then try and see if they can get any leaders or any founder cats, but everything goes wrong. The group immediately splits up and does not follow any of the plans. The first to go astray is both Mudclaw and Thistleclaw, who deviate from the original plan to go see their loved ones. Thistleclaw runs off in search of Snowfur, and Mudclaw runs off in search of other WindClan cats such as Tallstar and Deadfoot. Thistleclaw runs into Bluestar while he's looking for Snowfur and quickly heads off, still looking for her, and Bluestar is kind of not very happy with this and starts kind of raising the alarms that, hi, I think we might have a StarClan breach. Mudclaw finds Tallstar and Deadfoot, and they are not very happy to see him, but they pretend to be. See, they believe that StarClan's ruling is just and final, and so if StarClan decided that Mudclaw should have been in the Dark Forest, then he must have done something to deserve it, and so they're kind of really uncomfortable that Mudclaw's there, and they're just trying to keep up a friendly face and not raise any suspicion in him while they get others to go get help. Hawkfrost does a pretty okay job of sticking to the plan. He gets to Bluestar, who's like, oh gee, not another Dark Forest cat, oh boy, and is going to ask Bluestar for help because that's a leader that can help, and then sees Ashfur in the corner of his vision and runs off after him to tear him to shreds because he's kind of associated Ashfur with this idea of injustice in StarClan. So not setting a very good image of why they're there. The only cat that actually follows through is Darkstripe, who goes and he manages to find where a lot of the medicine cats hang out. Yellowfang would probably be the best bet. Yellowfang is a bit of a, what's the term? Loose cannon? She kind of does what she wants. So Darkstripe talks to her and she's pretty easy to convince and agrees and sees what he's talking about and is like, alright, I'll put in a word for you. Now I think you should go talk to some leaders, etc, etc. So Darkstripe's like, okay, sounds good, and then heads off again. And what he finds is an ambush basically waiting for him, and he's like, oh boy, oh no, what is going on? How does everyone know we're here? In this ambush, Bluestar, who kind of raised the alert before, we've got Oakheart with Bluestar there, and we have Redtail, who's also hanging out around them, and Nightstar for no reason. I just think he likes drama, and whenever I make an AU and have these groups of cats together, I always have Nightstar kind of with them, tagging along, joining in on their drama. What they've done is they've already captured Hawkfrost and Thistleclaw, and at this point Tallstar is kind of escorting Mudclaw over as well, trying to be gently like, come on, we're all friends here, let's all go over here. And Darkstripe's realizing, oh boy, this is not good. We've been found out. How did the plan go so wrong? And StarClan has kind of put these cats to sleep. Thistleclaw and Hawkfrost specifically, when they were captured, they put them to sleep so that they wouldn't do any damage to StarClan any further. Another cat in this group is Stonefur, and if you remember, it's actually Darkstripe who was one of the cats responsible for killing Stonefur. Well, he was originally meant to, and then needed a bit of help because of how pathetic he was at doing so. Stonefur jumps on Darkstripe, and Darkstripe's trying his best not to react or give them anything to hold against their group. And Darkstripe's trying to explain the situation, and Darkstripe's like, where are my friends? What have you done with my friends? And Stonefur's just being like, okay, stay still, criminal, or else I'll have to injure you. And the other cats in the group are kind of encouraging violence. Make sure he doesn't run, make sure he doesn't escape, make sure you bite his leg so he can't run. The cats who are doing the encouragements are Redtail and Nightstar specifically, and Darkstripe's here kind of terrified, and he's like, please, come on, we just were coming in peace. Then he's told, you weren't coming in peace because look at what your other cats did that came in with you. They were attacking other cats, they were causing chaos, and Darkstripe has no response to that. Mudclaw as well has just found out that this wasn't the heartwarming welcome that he thought it was, and at this point Bluestar, who has encountered most of the cats running past her, is kind of having this all hit her that these cats, when they first came across her, were not doing anything violent. They were kind of asking for help and then got distracted in their own little special ways. And now Darkstripe, who was a cat that Bluestar remembers to be violent and following Tigerstar, is now lying down, pinned down, not reacting, not fighting back, while the others that she counts as her friends are the ones who are encouraging violence. So at this point, Darkstripe has had enough and he's kind of terrified right now with everything that's going on, and he kicks Stonefur off of him and he makes a break for it and he runs, and Stonefur goes after after him and bites him on the leg and basically rips his tendons out of his leg, crippling Darkstripe. Blue Star shouts for them to stop and is like, this isn't what we're meant to be doing, and Darkstripe gets a look of determination in his eyes and goes, was that a mistake? Did StarClan make a mistake? Are you telling me StarClan can make mistakes? And he turns to Stonefur and approaches him very slowly because he's limping. Stonefur doesn't know what's going on and has kind of sensed that he's gone a bit too far, and what Darkstripe does is he does the apology ritual to Stonefur, and he apologizes for what he's done in the past. And he doesn't do it to make a point or to prove anything. He's doing it just for that sense of closure, and he feels good afterwards. And now Blue Star asks him, why did you do that? Is this genuine? Is this real? And Darkstripe says yes. And so Blue Star is left to think on this, and the cats are escorted out of StarClan back into the Dark Forest. They've kind of got Tiger Star to explain themselves to now of why they would think to sneak into StarClan. They're trying to lie and make up excuses. As for now, I hope you really enjoyed hearing about the base premise for this AU, and I hope you enjoyed watching me draw it. I'm really proud of this image. I think I did a better job of it than I did of the one before. The one that I did before, I was kind of really out of practice. I hadn't drawn in a few months because university is kind of giving me hell. It even now is. I downloaded a grass texture brush pack halfway through drawing, which I think made a world of difference on it. And I'll try to leave a link to that brush set in the description of the video because it really looks nice. My last video, I mentioned that I was kind of disappointed in the lack of highlights in the piece, and I really tried to focus on putting some highlights in this piece. In particular, I made sure that Darkstripe's values were all dark and Stonefur's were all light, which is basically their natural colouring anyways. However, on the point of contact with them, Darkstripe's face is lit up and Stonefur's face is in shadow. So the cat that is light is actually in the dark, and the cat that is dark is actually in the light. A lot of the piece is shaded with yellows, and Darkstripe has a lot of yellow on him, and yellow kind of means goodness. But the only point which Stonefur has any yellow on him is his forehead, where Darkstripe is touching. So this goodness and this compassion that the Dark Forest is learning and taking being a good cat into their own paws instead of having someone tell them whether or not they're good, he's transferring this to Stonefur and saying, as the apology ritual says, he's acknowledged what he's done. There is a separation between then and now. He's moving forward and he wants Stonefur to follow him.